Alright, hello my souls and welcome back. We're going to do this particular rant right. We're going to do this off the cuff, unscripted, and before we start Nexus, I'm going to eat your hole like a glazed donut. Also, hey Aiden, would you like to join? If so, let me know and I'll pull you into a party so you can join this rant about weirdness, but I'm going to start by saying that the furry community has an issue with hatred. Hello, Dennis. So, I'm going to say this community has an issue with hatred. I'm actually going to be giving you guys some examples, and we're going to talk about some of the issues I've seen in this community over the years. I'm going to say fuck the script. I will point out that since I am going to be giving examples, do not go harass any of the people that I, put up visibly on screen. Uh, it doesn't make you any better than them. It just makes you look like an asshole yourself. And at the end of the day, even if they are being hateful or being psychotic, they're still human. When you think of hate, all you can hear of is, I must scream, but I have no mouth. Yeah. Tony, the furry community needs to do two things. One, get their head out of their ass, or out of their butt. Uh, and two, get along and be nice with each other. Quite honestly, that's one of the things I was kind of gonna point out as an issue in this. But it seems like which side's being ranted about? What do you mean by that one, Sonicat? I mean, Dennis, everybody has hate thrown at them for the things they enjoy, but realistically, at the end of the day, so long as you're not hurting anybody, that's that's a you thing. If you're not hurting anybody, there's nothing really to bitch about. Maybe you should Aiden, maybe you should stay tuned so people won't get stuck in limbo. I mean, yeah, probably. But yeah, no, Sonicat, what do you mean by which side's being ranted about? Because in reality, it's everyone at this point. It doesn't necessarily have to do with a side or a uh, particular viewpoint. It just seems like everybody has an issue with being shitty. And there are a lot of things I have seen in recent events, whether it's the issue with Boof the Bear and him, and like him getting kicked out of, or rather not kicked out of, but not allowed into a room party, or being mocked publicly, or people attacking people at conventions. It's become a huge issue in this community where people seem to want to hate each other or even themselves more than they want to try to get along, and it's kind of annoying. I actually have some really good examples of these, one of which is a conversation I've been having with somebody over on Twitter for the last couple hours. And my whole stance on it is this dude is just being a dick and crashing out because somebody decided to correct him on Jesus fucking Christ on Twitter because of his grammar. Okay, I've got a really good example of a crash out. I like this kid's, I like this kid's psychosis. It's kind of fucking hilarious. So let's get into one of the examples I can give here. Which is, somebody just lost their shit at me, like, I'd say an hour or four. Actually, it's been 4 hours, Jesus Christ. Somebody decided it was a good idea to hop in and, like, correct his grammar as a joke. And the dude lost his absolute shit. So, once again, use this as a bit of a disclaimer. Don't go out and fucking harass any of the people that are being shown here. Don't act like a dick. Also, I've got to ask, has the chat been initializing, or is it just not showing up on screen? Okay, thank you, Burb. So the chat is showing up on screen now. There we go. So, without further ado, let's get in and, you know, talk about this individual, shall we? No, actually, these individuals. I should point out a bit of a trigger warning. This is going to this entire rant is going to deal with things like people being terrible human beings, or people wishing death on others, or what have you. And it's just generally gonna piss some of you off. But we're gonna start with a little bit of a lighthearted thing from Devin Severson. So this individual was flipping out because their grammar wasn't the best and somebody corrected them. So as a joke, Dex Bunny here decided it was going to be a good idea to go in and correct their grammar. Now, I should point out that this guy started off with, like, referring to people as knuckle draggers, or low IQ knuckle draggers, and calling people pathetic because they were doing things like fixating on grammar. And realistically, if you are fixating on something like that as a actual thing, then yeah, you're being a dick. At the same time, it's kind of fucking hilarious that somebody would do this off of a quote. My brain died. But he's sitting here going, it's fucking Twitter and no one gives a shit. And 9 times out of 10, I'm typing with my thumbs while doing something else. And Dex Bunny comes in, corrects his grammar. And my response was, Bunny, causing crash out with 3 asterisks, good work. Tell me if you feel that this escalates quickly, because it feels to me like this escalates quickly. Because his response to me, like, making a joke at one of my mutuals, who, again, I'm fairly certain this guy came in and corrected this dude's grammar as a joke because of the fact that he was crashing out about somebody correcting his grammar. He says, it's so weird how y'all keep calling clapbacks to your petulant nonsense crashing out, BHT. Whatever helps you reprobates, I guess. Immediately, this individual comes off as somebody who is trying to, like, one, sound a lot smarter than they are, because petulant nonsense, calling people reprobates. Either this dude is an English major who just likes being not obsessed, excessively verbose, or he's probably, like, Googling words for the sake of shits and giggles. I know, right? So I respond with, no one cares that your grammar isn't clean, kid. They poke fun at you because they know you'll complain. By the way, It's, but, and I. Remember, folks, capitalize your eyes. Maybe grow up a bit and stop caring what people think so much. There's so much that you feel the need to vent about about an obvious bit of ribbing. So I'm pointing out that this dude is... The only reason that people are correcting his grammar is because he's freaking out about people correcting his grammar. And in reality, this guy is saying, it's Twitter, leave it be. All the while crashing out about the fact that people are correcting his grammar. Oh, and by the way, immediately resorting to comments like, I'm sorry no one loved you enough, just looks like projection from a grade school student. Which, again, I should point out, this was... I mean, good thought, Yuki. It might have been an attempt to do, by the way. But I should point out, this dude's response to Dex doing the it's no one and I'm thing was, it's Twitter, you're a mistake, I'm sorry no one loved you enough to teach you how not to be an internet troll. And you knob hoppers are still fucking... Yeah, it's... This dude is getting clowned entirely because he's, crashed out about this so fucking hard. Yep. Oh, I hate my controller sometimes. YGS. I mean, quite a bit, yeah. But no, this guy goes on, and if you want to read the entire thing, I need to point out... I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I'm going to point something out using all of this. So, let's see. Personally, I could give a fuck less that all that's all people like you got dirty grammar because that's all you got. Your entire personality are just pissing people off because it gets you off. It's still wild that y'all fucking are fucking furries, but you think disparaging body art and others is acceptable. Y'all cry about not being accepted, misunderstood, and disliked, but then you troll on the internet and jump off sucking some random shithead's dick to ride my ass because I call all of you mean names while you're actively bullying citizens people. So, tell me this didn't escalate quickly, and this very much kind of shifts into the thing I was talking about with this rant, and that's the fact that we have a problem with hatred. People doing things like going absolutely batshit crazy, screaming at people that they're subhuman or stupid or racist or what have you for no other reason than they can. It's actually kind of mind-boggling to me, to be entirely honest. God damn. What is this? There we are. Another good one to put out here is when he says, don't act like we're friends, You literally say you hate bullies, but ignore the post bullying a wide group of people. To bully somebody you perceive as crashing out, the hypocrisy is wild. I will point out that entrance into this entire conversation was me making a joke about some dude correcting someone's grammar and causing them to crash the fuck out. Like, I see no issue in people being stupid on the internet. Like, I see 100% no issue with people, you know. Oh. Light on so you guys can see my face a little easier. I see nothing really wrong with people making a joke on the internet or correcting somebody's grammar just because they can. Especially if it's, like, in the face of somebody losing their shit because somebody, corrected their grammar. I don't see this as bullying, I see this as cracking a joke. And if you disagree with that, I'm kind of sorry, but at the same time, it's one of those things of just... You're too fucking sensitive. This dude is claiming that 20 people ganged up on him, by the way. For standing up for someone being for standing up to somebody being a cunt, and they didn't like that. You called a cunt out for being a cunt. Like, actually shut up. Dude. So, I'm not gonna read the rest of this, because this could actually get me in trouble on YouTube. But 100%, this individual has lost the plot. And this on screen right now is the exact thing I'm talking about. This guy has worked himself up because of a comment I made joking with a mutual on X, and is now sitting here resorting to slurs, resorting to insults, making wild claims that he's being dogpiled by 20 plus people, all because he was standing up to somebody being an asshole. When in reality, I could point out this guy was flipping out because somebody said they didn't like tattoos or body piercings. I've got a piercing myself, man. I've got planned tattoos that I'm going to be getting sometime in the next couple of years. I actually plan on getting a banded ring tattoo as well as a name across my arm here. And the fact that this dude is losing his shit is kind of hilarious. Huh. Well, there's a like. Another good example, though, of people flipping their shit is... this dude. And yeah, I have them blocked. 100% have them blocked for a reason. Let's see if I can find the thing that this dude was flipping the absolute fuck about. So there's an individual recently who, I'm not gonna showcase this dude's shit, any more than I have to. But there was an individual, who, this is still an incident going on. But there's an individual out there called Philosopher Leo. I know their real name, I'm not gonna shout that out or anything. Had a mental break and went missing. So, real-ass missing persons situation, and this guy is sitting here cracking jokes like this, and it kind of goes into the like dehumanization portion of the issue with our community being a culture of hate, or or not so much being, but becoming a culture of hate. God, the more I'm scrolling through this dude's shit, the more I'm so glad I have him blocked. Hold on, let's see if I can do this a better way. I'm trying to find the original post where this shit became a thing. Well, fuck. Where is this? Here we are. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. This is another issue. Philosopher Leo had a mental break and decided he was going to go AWOL, and apparently is still missing now after 3 days. Uh, Thankfully, he has been found, sort of. People have interacted with him recently, and it's a thing. But Orion Falls here is mentioning it's just sad the lack of the that they lack the empathy to understand that when people go missing, it's not just simply stepping out or forgetting to pay the bills. Especially since I learned that Leo, I believe the rest of that states that he is autistic and had a mental break due to stress. To which this dude's response was to post this. And this is effectively a reposted image of him going and saying that he was hoping that this dude was found on the side of the road dead. So that's kind of a thing, you know? Uh, People actually dehumanize or have dehumanized each other so much that, or people have gotten used to the idea of dehumanizing each other so much in this community that people will freely say shit like, hey, I hope that this dude who's having a mental breakdown is found on the side of the road dead. The same thing can technically be talked about in reference to a trans kid that recently took their life, and people were crashing out, freaking out, and being hateful and just generally shitty people, and making jokes about the fact that a minor, first of all, was found dead under a bridge after having thrown themselves off of it. So, I mean, in general, just this community has a problem with people being shitty to each other in the worst of ways. Delint, you'd question how old the creature is, how appropriate the question is, or how young they are. I mean, realistically, yeah, it's probably some kid. Oh god, I just got a response from somebody to a very old thing, but that's neither here nor there. Um, in general, though, it feels like our community has an issue with just in general being hateful. And I know all of you guys have seen it in some way, shape, or form. Somebody going, well, this person is uh, XYZ, insert whatever labels there are. So they're not human and they deserve to be shot or stabbed or beaten or deserve to be exiled from the community, this, that, or the other thing. Or people being judgmental as shit and trying to other people because of their race, because of their age, because of their uh, political affiliation, because of their religion, or what have you. It's just become a huge fucking issue in the community. And it kind of is one of those things that we need to collectively step up and call out, I guess. I guess it's not the right way of saying it, but we need to really start having the conversation of why is this the norm in this community and why is it accepted? Like, I get that people have moments where they can lose their shit and crash out. I'm no exception to this. I've had a few fairly obvious crash outs even on stream. Uh but at the same time, y'all don't see me going and saying, fuck it, this person isn't human. When somebody does this, the worst I'll say is, holy Christ, they're being psychotic. What do you guys think out there about all of this shit? Like, what are your thoughts on the idea of the furry community at large becoming this hateful thing that is far too accepting of the idea of hatred or exclusion in general? Why do I get the feeling that I just broke at least one person's brain? Oh, I'm 100% aware that no matter what community it's in, there will always be hate. My issue is that the furry community specifically seems to have embraced that hatred. When was that in? Because I vaguely remember hearing about that, but at the same time, I don't remember hearing about that. That's another thing that has become an issue in the community is labeling, because there are way too many instances of somebody crying Nazi and somebody flipping out and actually assaulting people instead of like doing their due diligence and fucking actually figuring out if it's a thing. Oh god, yeah, no, if that's the case, definitely at very least kick him out of the fucking event. But like, again, unless he's legitimately going for broken, oh, and tried to do the salute. Yeah, no. At that point, kick their ass and throw them out. Um like if they're generally so that's another good thing to bring up is the difference between somebody being improperly labeled and then somebody actively labeling themselves as and trying to be a member of a hate group. Because, by all means, if somebody is actively doing the whole Sieg Heil bullshit, uh, exclude those. Exclude those particular individuals from society at that point. Because, realistically, if they genuinely believe what they're preaching, then yeah, they're no better than the people who I've been talking about. And any hate group is just no. Hold on. I had to type a thing. Um, but yeah, by all means, if somebody is actively going out of their way to be like a hateful individual or to claim to be part of a hate group, I'm I know earlier I said kick their ass and throw them out, but realistically, even that I don't condone violence. I really don't. There's always been issues with people like losing their shit and being stupid, and realistically one of the best ways to deal with that is to teach somebody. Although I know this is probably going to be a bit of a controversial take, but I do believe that re-education through things like imprisonment, let's say somebody's doing something illegal. Uh let's say they've committed a crime. Re-education through imprisonment. I'm all for that. But like the beat his ass and throw him out mentality is kind of what I was talking about, and it very much gives the idea, or not gives the idea. It gives a lot. It gives vigilante. Like everything I've been seeing, where it's just attack this person, throw them out, exile them from our community. It just gives vigilante, and it drives me fucking nuts. Um, Oh, and yes, I know the pauses to silence here are a thing. But going back to, hey Jackie, going back to what Delint said with the fact that, or what Delint said with, no matter where it is, who it is, or what community, there will always be hate. That's very true, but at the same time, you can't necessarily claim that hatred is the only thing. And in any community where hatred is glorified in the way that the furry community seems to glorify it, there has always been an issue where that community eventually collapses. Whether it's from the inside out or from the outside in, it becomes a thing where you you can't build a society or a community on hatred. It just doesn't work. So I guess the focus should be, in some way, shape, or form, how do we combat hatred? Because realistically, you can't fight hatred with hatred. So the whole idea of, well, they're being hateful, throw them out, kick them out, beat their ass, that's not gonna work. Never has and never will. If you want to get in, if you want to get technical, and yes, I know, or not technical, if you, I know I'm probably gonna get crucified for using this quote, but as the late great Martin Luther King Jr. once said, you cannot drive out darkness with darkness. Only light can do that. Just like you cannot combat hatred with hatred. Like, hatred cannot drive out hatred. Only love can do that. It's actually one of the reasons why I so often preach things like tolerance and forgiveness. And in some cases, yeah, I can understand that those don't work. But where's the line drawn? Like, in general, where do you draw the line? Because lately it seems like there is no line and there is no attempt to, you know, be accepting or be forgiving in any way, shape, or form. Like, for fuck's sake, we have people glorifying and justifying, like, suicide. We legitimately in this community have people glorifying and justifying, or not justifying, glorifying and encouraging suicide. Anyways, I guess that's probably going to be it for this rant. Oh, I will see you guys in a little bit on the nightly live stream. I figured this is just one of those things that I had to get out of my system because, in all reality, we do have a problem with the hate in this community. We do have a problem with people losing their shit at the drop of a hat and justifying it with things like insults and dehumanization. But I guess the question is, how do we combat that? How do we start to heal or start to rebuild the community we had in place of this clusterfuck, for lack of a better term, of hatred, dehumanization, and violence? Oh well. If you enjoy the commentary of these rants, it's like, if you want to keep up with this or any of our other content, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Become part of our notification squad so you can see when we upload and when we go live. But for now, this is Kitthesoulless signing off. So until next time, everybody. Bye-bye. Nom.